Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to stand for a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the record, this is a special public meeting of the Bayonne Board of Education. It is 6:33 p.m., the 16th day of March. We're convening in the Alexander O'Connor Auditorium. The presiding officer is Maria Vallado, President of the Bayonne Board of Education. Those in attendance include Mr. John J. Neese, our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Kenneth Kopaz, our Assistant Superintendent for Personnel, Ms. Jennifer Vettriorelli, our Assistant Superintendent for Special Services, Dr. Gary Maida, Board Secretary, Mr. Daniel Castles, School Business Administrator, Mr. Thomas Fagu Jr., our Assistant School Business Administrator, Dr. Dennis Degnan, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and Mr. Philip Lamparello, Esquire, our Board Counsel. The meeting is open to the public. I will take a roll call. Trustee Burke.
Here.
Trustee Cassius.
Here.
Trustee Egan.
Here.
Trustee Finnerty is on Zoom. Trustee Sclafane.
Here.
Trustee Watson.
Here.
Trustee Wilbeck is absent. Vice President Munoz.
Here.
President Vallado.
Here.
I have, yes.
For the record, adequate written advance notice of at least 48 hours giving time, date, and location of this meeting with the agenda was provided as follows. Notice was promptly posted in City Hall at 630 Avenue C on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements of the Board of Education. The Board Secretary sent such notice to the Jersey Journal and Bayonne Community News and the Board of Education website. The notice was filed with the Municipal Clerk of the City of Bayonne, Ms. Medina.
Thank you. Okay, we have one item, Resolution D1, whereas John J. Neese is currently employed by the Board of Education of the City of Bayonne as its Superintendent of Schools and is serving under terms and conditions of a written employment contract dated July 1st, 2019 and extends until June 30th, 2022. Whereas it is the best interest of the school district to provide for administrative stability and the completion of educational programs and projects to minimize disruption to the school district. Be it hereby resolved that John J. Neese is reappointed as Superintendent of Schools for the beginning of the term July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2026. Be it further resolved that the Board approves the employment contract between the Board and the Superintendent attached hereto, directs the Board President to sign the same on its behalf. It is on our first bulletin board. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Trustee Egan. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Sorry.
There's a second by Trustee Cassius. So on that motion and second, Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Cassius?
Yes.
Trustee Egan?
Yes.
Trustee Finnerty will recuse herself. Trustee Sclafane will also recuse herself. Trustee Watson?
Yes.
Trustee Wilbeck is absent. Vice President Munoz?
Yes.
President Vallado?
Yes.
Great. Congratulations, Superintendent.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
You going to say anything?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Very much. If anybody's here for going back to school, I look forward to talking to you.
Would you like to say anything?
No. Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege. We still have a lot of work to do. We have to finish this year strong, finish it smart, and finish it safely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent.
Thank you,
Is
Superintendent.
there a motion to adjourn the special meeting?
So moved.
Moved by President Filato, a second by Vice President Munoz. So on that motion and second to adjourn the special meeting, Trustee Burke,
Yes.
Trustee Cassius, Trustee Egan,
Yes.
Trustee Finnerty, Trustee Sclafane, Trustee Watson,
Yes.
Trustee Wilbeck is absent, Vice President Munoz,
Yes.
President Filato.
Yes.
It is 6:38. We will adjourn that meeting. If you give me 1 second.
I want to say no, I felt a lot of positive vibes. Keep it going.
Okay. At this time, I'll call the regular meeting to order. I'll dispense with the pledge to the flag. If I get 1 second. Okay, for the record, this is a public meeting of the Bayonne Board of Education. It is 6:39, 16th day of March. We're convening in the Alexander O'Connor Auditorium. Presiding officer is Maria Volato, President of the Bayonne Board of Education. Those in attendance include Mr. John J. Neese, our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Kenneth Kopaz, our Assistant Superintendent for Personnel, Ms. Jennifer Vecchiarelli, our Assistant Superintendent of Special Services, Dr. Gary Maida, Board Secretary, Mr. Daniel Castles, our School Business Administrator, Mr. Thomas Fagu Jr., our Assistant School Business Administrator, Dr. Dennis Degnan, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and Mr. Philip Lamparello, Esquire, our Board Counsel. The meeting is open to the public. I will take a roll call. Trustee Burke.
Here.
Trustee Cassius. Here. Trustee Egan. Here. Trustee Finnerty is here with us on Zoom. Trustee Sclafane.
Here.
Trustee Watson.
Here.
Trustee Wilbeck is absent. Vice President Munoz.
Here.
President Filato.
Here.
Mr. President.
For the record, adequate written advance notice of at least 48 hours giving time, date, and location of the meeting with the agenda was provided as follows. The notice was promptly posted at City Hall at 630 Avenue C on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements of the Board of Education meeting. The board secretary sent notice to the Jersey Journal, Bayonne Community News, and posted it on the Board of Education website. Notice was filed with the municipal clerk of the City of Bayonne, Ms. Medina.
Thank you. Before I start, just a quick announcement. The board is presenting a list of policies and regulations that need to be changed. They're being presented. They'll be voted on April 27th board meeting. Obviously, the trustees have all had copies of it and the changes. If anyone from the public would like to see them before April's meeting, please just contact my office and I'll get that out to you. Okay. So first up is our approval of minutes, our acceptance of communications. But I do have a card in regards to communication, so I'll ask her to come up. Ms. Lynn Pawlowski has a question in regards to her email, which is on communications, 128 West 26th Street. And just please, I remind everybody they have 3 minutes. Whenever you'd like to start.
I hear there was a survey, good evening. I hear there was a survey submitted to the teachers about returning to school. What questions were asked and what were the results of that survey?
Oh, you know what? This will make it so much easier. I have your answer. I was going to put this in a record, but here you go. You don't even have to ask. I can just give you the answers. And there's a pie chart with the results of the survey. That's in here. Oh, sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have gone away. Sorry. Here you go. So what Ms. Pawlowski did is she sent a bunch of questions in reference to our returning, and what I did is I answered them, and then you wanted them in the record, so I was going to put them in the record, but here they are, and this is the survey. So the first survey was in reference to in-person instruction. That was before we got notice of the vaccine. And then on this survey, I'm sorry, I just kind of hand wrote some stuff on there, but I can clean this up if you want. But anyway, it says, have you ever received the COVID vaccination? And this is that information. So that's exactly what we're doing right now. So just so everybody knows, you can have that. We had over 800 employees that did not have the vaccine. That was as of the first week of March. And we met with the city, and we were able to get our teacher or all school employees vaccinated. So that has been a game changer. Yes, sir. Oh, am I not? Sorry. But anyway, there you go.
Just in case.
Okay. So that was the game changer in reference to not having the vaccine. So now that we have the vaccine and we have all the other protocols in place, plus, Dan, what was the name of that ESSA funding that we just got for the air purifiers?
It's called ESSER 2. It's the second round of the CARES Act funding, but specifically with schools, it's called ESSER 2.
So what that does, in addition to all the other, because remember we spoke about putting, and I may say this wrong, but the MERV filters and all the ventilation systems that we have inside. The downside to that is we have our average age is about 87 years old. So we don't have ventilation systems, so we bought these room filters. So not only do they go into classrooms, but in every single room, so throughout the district. So with those precautions, obviously all the plexiglass on every single desk in the district, and as you can see. But with all of those, and the fact that this will be 2 weeks after the last person is vaccinated, everybody will be fully vaccinated. So yes, our target constantly moves, but we do believe that with everything we're doing and have done, we can return safely. Now, I will ask, if somebody has this question, sorry about this, board, but I just want to explain this. So what we did is, we sent out a survey to our all of our families, parents and guardians. The purpose of that survey was to find out how many children will return, because that will actually help us determine how we come back. And then, of course, about 4 in the morning, I think, you know what? Because I did get questions from some people in the public, and even if I get one email, that kind of thing, you know what? Other people are going to have these questions. So this morning, what I did is I took some of the general questions and some questions that I have, and we put that out to the public to let everybody know what's going on with our return and some common questions, and we answered those. I do apologize when we sent the survey out initially. What happened is, I've been trying to, and I will learn Arabic by the time I'm done as an educator. That's a goal of mine. But that being said, so I've been sending out letters in Arabic, English, and Spanish. And that's important to all of us. It's being fair and equitable to our entire community. But also, interestingly enough, when you convert some documents in other languages, when you go to send them, sometimes it comes out in things like, it doesn't mesh up too well. So when we sent that out, then we had like multiple grades, and we missed 12th grade, and all that. So we had to pull that back real quick and send it back. But social media is great because that catches it before all of us catch it, and But in any event, so we're doing all these things. We're preparing. We're planning. When we get the survey from our parents about how many students, and I can tell you right now, we've got about 3,000 responses, and it's almost 50-50, staying home and coming back. But when we get those 10,000 surveys in, we'll be able to determine how can we keep our children safe, our employees safe, and we return to in-person instruction and what that looks like. So we value all of our community's input into the return, a safe return, and I said it before, a safe, a strong, and a smart way to come back. And we do this, we will put into place a great plan and have the community input. Granted, as we knew over the summer when we did a survey, we had a third, and a third. Everybody was all over the place in reference to come back. This is very telling because while the virus is here, it's real, and there's a new variant, we have half of our students or parents right now that want to stay home, and that's okay. But that being said, we just want to make sure we do all this right. Now, for those of you that are here to question, how are we going to make up the achievement gap? First, let's face it, some students, there will be an achievement gap, others not so much. But what we're going to do, and Dr. Degnan and our curriculum team, we are going to put together a robust educational service for the summertime, not just as technical summer school, but to close that achievement gap, to work with our learners. We have it in our purview that we're going to give the students extra instruction after school, before school, whatever it takes. But like we said, we want to finish smart and strong. So that's very, very important. Our assistant superintendent of special education, we are going to work with our special education parents to offer services to all of our children. As you know, throughout the pandemic, we've offered occupational therapy and physical therapy to our students, but we want to do more. We want to do more during the pandemic. But again, it's about doing it smart, safe, and robustly, and we just want to, get that straight. So listen, it's tough, right? I mean, you see a lot of things going on, but we've been rather consistent, and I can't thank the Board of Education, the mayor, and the council as how we've been able to get the vaccine so quickly with our school nurses to all of our employees. So that was a big part of it. So that's where we're at. We're going to get through this. And we're going to do it, as a partnership. We work with our teachers, with our custodians, with our buses, and we're doing all these things. We're all going to be interoperable, meaning the schools will be interoperable, meaning what does that mean? We're all going to be on the same schedule. And the reason we're going to do that is because of transportation, because of all those things that we do. We recognize that parents have students in different schools. Older students take care of younger students, so they need to be on the same schedule. That would be smart. But again, depending on how many come back, that's going to really determine where we are. And we're going to ask the community's input on that, and that'll go out next week. It seems like every week, but now the rubber hits the road because we're getting vaccinated this week. We should be through our first dose. So those were the surveys, and I would have done a survey to all our community, to our kids sooner, but when the vaccine came out, it just kind of changes things. But so that's where we're at. Feel free, take a look, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns with that, just email me, and I'll be more than happy. I can call you. We'll get it right. All right. So I apologize. So, and again, I get lots of emails. Unfortunately, I get probably 300 daily of marketers trying to sell stuff. But if you send me an email, I will get back to you. I will talk to you. I will ask you, hey, what do you think? But we'll get through this. We definitely will, and it's as a community. All right? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody. Sorry. Karen, what do I do?
Thank you.
All right.
Dr. Neese, thank you emphatically for the transparency that the parents have been looking for this entire year. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not a doctor yet, but I am going to school with Danny, and we're gonna get that together. So I'm working on it. Thank you.
Okay. So first up is our approval of the minutes, our acceptance of communication. Once again, all our resolutions are up on the two bulletin boards. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the acceptance of the minutes.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
So I have a motion and second on communications. On that motion and second, Trustee Burke,
Yes.
Trustee Cassius,
Yes.
Trustee Egan.
Yes.
I think we lost Trustee Finnerty, Trustee Sclafane,
Yes.
Trustee Watson,
Yes.
Trustee Wilbeck is absent. Trustee Wilbeck is absent. Vice President Munoz,
Yes.
President Bellata.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dennis. I didn't see you there. Thank you. Dennis is here. Sorry about that, Trustee. Next up is our curriculum and instruction, resolutions A1 through A12. Do I have a motion?
Motion, I'll move.
Motion from Trustee Sclafane. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by President Bellato. Motion and second on that resolution. Group of resolutions, trustee Burke,
Yes.
trustee Kasai,
Yes.
trustee Egan,
Yes.
trustee Finnerty is out, trustee Sclafane, trustee Watson, trustee Wilbeck, vice president Munoz,
Yes.
president Bellato.
Yes.
Next up is our finance, building, and grounds resolutions B1 to B14. Let me get a motion and a second first on a motion
I'll move the
by trustee Egan, and we'll have a second
I'll make that second motion.
by Vice President Munoz. But before I take a vote, we have a couple of cards. Lynn Pulowski is going to come up again. She has a question on resolution B1 in regards to CARES.
That question's been answered.
Fine. Why don't you stay there, because we have a question on resolution B5.
Yes. So thank you again, everybody. There's a question from the parents. Why are the Board of Education meetings not on Zoom? We have parents at home, single parents, people that are working, commuting, that would like to join and participate virtually, and they're not given the option to do so.
B5 is about acceptance of a grant, so.
Well, it was technology.
I know.
Yeah, I saw
I
technology.
can answer that question for you.
Okay.
But otherwise, that's going to be down that end. But why it's not on Zoom? So
Right, but-
I could.
But we could address that in the public portion as it doesn't relate to B5.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the meeting, could they answer that at the end of the meeting?
If that's your choice, as long as it doesn't take out of my 3
It
minutes.
doesn't relate to the
We
technology,
have to
to
accept
the
the
student
grant, that's all we're
association
doing.
grant.
No problem. Thank you.
I will get out a card and bring you back.
Yes.
Good. So we have a motion and a second on our finance agenda. On that motion and second, trustee Burke,
Yes.
trustee Kasai, trustee Egan,
Yes.
trustee Finnerty is out, trustee Sclafane,
Yes.
trustee Watson,
Yes.
trustee Wilbeck, vice president Munoz,
Yes.
president Bellato.
Yes.
Next up is our personnel resolution C1, up and including till C16. Do I have a motion? Motion by trustee Cassius, and I have a second?
I'll second.
And I have a second by trustee Burke. On that motion and second, trustee Burke,
Yes.
trustee Cassius, trustee Egan,
Yes.
trustee Finnerty is out, trustee Sclafane, trustee Watson, trustee Wilbeck, vice president Munoz, president Bellato.
Yes.
Now go to our non-consent portion of the meeting. Okay, trustee Finnerty is back with us. Great. I'll start with resolution D1, the adoption of the tentative budget for the school year 2021-2022. Whereas the Bayonne Board of Education school year 2021 to 22 includes sufficient funds to provide curriculum and instruction which will enable all students to achieve the Common Core state standards and the New Jersey Core curriculum content standards in compliance with NJSA 18A, NJAC Title VI, and Title VI-A. Whereas the district is going to increase the tax levy by 1% for a total of $70,451,920. Be it resolved that the Board of Education adopts the following tentative budget. Be it further resolved that the superintendent and the school business administrator are hereby directed to establish the budget for the school year 21-22, submit the said budget to the executive county superintendent, provide the certificate and report for school taxes, the A4F, for the 21-22 school year to the city of Bayonne, clerk, and the Hudson County Board of Taxation by May 14th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by trustee Egan, and I have a second
I'll second it.
by Vice President Munoz. So on that motion and second on the tentative budget, trustee Burke,
Yes.
trustee Cassius, trustee Egan,
Yes.
trustee Finnerty,
Yes.
that's a yes. Trustee Scalfane, that's a yes. Trustee Watson,
Yes.
trustee Wilbeck,
Yes.
Vice President Munoz,
Yes.
and President Bellato.
Yes.
And our final resolution for this evening, whereas the Bayonne Board of Education and the Bayonne Education Association have been involved in a dispute before PERC in a matter bearing docket number CO 2018-135, whereas the New Jersey Supreme Court recently issued a decision in an unrelated matter clarifying a point of law pertinent to the interpretation of the parties' collective negotiation agreement and the resolution of matter bearing the same docket number. Whereas the Bayonne Board of Ed and the Bayonne Education Association have reached a full and final resolution on their dispute and have set forth the terms of this agreement in a settlement agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bayonne Board of Education hereby approves the settlement agreement with the Bayonne Education Association in full and final resolution of all issues in dispute between the parties, pending PERC. Be it further resolved that the President of the Board of Ed be and is hereby authorized to execute and have delivered to the Bayonne Education Association the settlement agreement in full and final resolution of the matter, effective upon receipt of the fully executed settlement agreement, countersigned on behalf of the Bayonne Education Association. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by trustee Egan, and I have a second
I'll second.
by trustee Cassius. So on that motion and second, trustee Burke,
Yes.
trustee Cassius,
Yes.
trustee Egan,
Yes.
trustee Finnerty will recuse herself. Trustee Sclafane, trustee Watson,
Yes.
trustee Wilbeck,
Yes.
trustee Wilbeck will recuse himself. Did I hear that correctly?
On that one, yes.
Yes, you got it. Thank you. Vice President Munoz?
Yes.
Okay, President Bellato.
Yes.
Great. Okay, we have questions. I will start first with our student council representative, Petra Galley, who would like to talk to us.
Well, good evening, trustees, superintendent, assistant superintendent. Our student council team has been continuing the Friday trivia nights, and we are still having great success with our virtual events. We couldn't be more pleased and grateful that students are finding these events both helpful and fun. I'd also like to publicly, and on the behalf of student council, thank Mrs. Lisa Martinez, who donated $150 to our trivia nights. The money will be used for two things. Number one, to purchase gift cards for the winners, and number two, to put a smile on our students' faces. She herself is a teacher, and that does not surprise me. We have some incredible teachers here in Bayonne, and kind actions like hers are what make Bayonne strong. So again, thank you to Mrs. Martinez. Additionally, we'll be starting the 2021 to 2022 student council election process next month. More information will be coming soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Miss Victoria Del Rigno, 38 East 41st Street.
Yes.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all. My name is Victoria Del Regno. I'm a school nurse at Horace Mann School in Bayonne. I'm here because I follow all the events on the Board of Ed website. I diligently attend many in-service programs geared for nursing over the years that I've been with the Board of Ed, which will be going on 14. I attended 30 Zoom meetings with Rutgers University about contact tracing in preparation for contact COVID tracing. Each Zoom meeting lasted 2 to 3 hours. I just finished the New Jersey Workforce Environment Council starting February 24th, and the guidelines were provided with agencies that provide protection for all workers for 10 hours for 3 days. I have to say I've been going to school regularly. I know we don't have to go because we don't have any students, but I do most of my paperwork at home, but I'm required to file these documents. People send me sick notes, immunization, letters of concern, and things like that. So I do go to school and I file those things. I usually go Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I missed a couple of days during the snowstorm. So last Monday, I went to school after I watched the council meeting, and it was discussed about different things that were going to be put in the building. So that's why I came here tonight, basically, because when I went last Monday, I opened the door, I walked in, and it was like time stood still. My office was exactly the way I had left it. Nothing has been done. I appreciate Superintendent Neese for his insight into the problem and the letters and all the notifications we receive, because it does keep us up to date. Unfortunately, until we got the letter today about school being open on May 3rd and these things are going to be changed and corrected, I felt I was going to return to the same little room that I have with no proper equipment, when last year in January and February, I sent home 55 children sick with fevers over 100.4 from February, March, and they had all the symptoms of COVID, yet COVID was new. No one was aware of what it was like or what it was going to be like. And of course, we've been much more educated since then. I had to call all these parents to pick up their children. The children became immediately sick upon arrival at school. None of them, when I called parents to pick them up, they said, I sent him to school, he wasn't sick when he left. And that just happens with children. They get a temperature, they get it quickly. The difference with this disorder, as opposed to when I see the children with the flu, was that their lips were blue and they couldn't breathe. So somewhere...
You're going to have to finish up.
Okay, but basically what I wanted to say is, I feel like I keep up with everything current, so I can take properly care of the children, and I'm hoping that as soon as possible, the requested things are put in the building, because I went yesterday and everything's still exactly the same. So that's why I came today, because I really don't want these children to have to go through this again, because a lot of them were so scared last year. And a lot of the children in my neighborhood are anxious about going back to school. I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Miss Lisa Reynolds, 89 West 16th Street.
Good evening, everybody. I've never been to one of these before, so I hope this is how you're supposed to do this. I just wanted to find out two things. Has there been any discussion of before care and after care when the students go back May 3rd? And I was also wondering, how will the final determination be made in terms of what hybrid plan to follow? Are we going to be doing it by popular vote? Are we doing it by what is most financially cost effective?
Superintendent, would you like to respond to that, to the hybrid? He alluded to it before, saying that it's based on the parent surveys when we get them back.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how many children are coming, so we don't know how to do that. But he will add more. Mr. Superintendent Neese? She's asking about what hybrid model we're going to be following.
Yep.
He's got the
Again, as we were discussing before, but it's all going to be kind of hinge on how many students come back.
Mm-hmm.
There will be before and after care.
There will be. Okay, thank you.
We're going to work through that, yes.
Okay. And next week, just to clarify, next week's survey will be presenting the options for hybrid, is that correct?
That's sorry.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And if you want to know popular vote, if it follows anything like we did at the beginning of the year, it'll be a third, and a third.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what works best. But let's see where the community is. And also, it also depends on how many students actually come back out of the 10,000.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We'll keep you posted.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Next up is Jessica Lombardi, 213 Avenue B.
I have a question really quickly. Am I able to speak after Petra does, or do I have to speak now?
Are you able to speak what? Excuse me?
Am I able to speak after Petra Galley does, or do I have to do now?
Do you want me to go in a different order?
Yeah. Is it okay that I speak after Petra?
Sure you can. How about Jeff Barons,
Okay, thank you.
43rd Street?
Thank you. First, I want to thank the board for announcing that our schools will reopen in May. I hope that you'll stand by this decision and not give in to any parties that may apply a lot of pressure on you. You described the steps that you've taken to make our building safer, including filters and UV lights, and that you plan on putting in purifiers where ventilation is not currently available. These are all very positive steps, and I thank you for taking them. The steps not only make the school safer for our children, they also protect the wonderful teachers and staff that our children rely on. We need the schools to reopen because our children's education is suffering from remote learning, and that is in no way the fault of the teachers. They were never trained for this. Every task for them now is more difficult and takes more time. They spend half the day as tech support, especially for the younger students, such as my daughter's second grade class. Today, my daughter's class drew pictures of owls. In the old days, her teacher could just walk through the room to see and comment on each children's work. Today, I heard her ask each student to hold their picture up a little closer, a little farther, can't quite see it. So it took her 3 times as long, and she could barely see the pictures. And that's not her fault, but it has an impact on her ability to teach and our children's ability to learn. She also can't see that my daughter writes so many of her letters and numbers backwards. If they were in a classroom, she probably could have fixed this months ago. The teachers need to be in the classroom with their students so everyone can succeed to their full potential. Now, those of us who want our children to return to school are sometimes demonized as horrible parents who don't care whether our kids live or die, and nothing could be farther than the truth. Even though this horrible disease has claimed more than 500,000 lives, luckily, our children have mostly been spared. According to the American Association of Pediatrics, children have accounted for more than 13% of COVID cases, but less than 1/10% of the fatalities. Since the start of the pandemic, there have been 250 child deaths from COVID. That is, every death is horrible, but that's half as many as died from the flu the year before. And we also have to consider the danger to our students from child abuse. Teachers and school staff account for 20% of child abuse reports, and that number, I'm sure, has plummeted because they cannot see the children now. So we also need to be very concerned about the health of our teachers and school staff. It's nice that our governor's finally stopped being a total jerk and now allows teachers to be vaccinated. And this is the best way to keep them safe other than the steps you've already taken for the schools themselves. It's also important, though, for each teacher's safety to know how many of their fellow teachers and staff have been vaccinated. Because obviously you want a type of herd immunity through the vaccinations. So I hope that there continues to be a transparency as to what percentage of staff and students, staff and teachers have been vaccinated. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Next up is Petra Galley. I'm going to leave it at Bayonne High School, Bayonne, New Jersey.
So I'm not speaking as student representative anymore, but I'm here today to follow up on the last meeting. I spoke at the podium on February 23rd and was told, thank you, thank you, thank you. We will reach out to you with a new date to reschedule. Well, it has been a month since, and the only emails and calls I've received were over a delayed HIB investigation that should have been completed within 10 days legally, but instead took 9 months, and only because I spoke here at the podium about it publicly. I declined it because truth is, I'm afraid for my safety in reopening an investigation 9 months after it concluded through the Bayonne PD. I was lied to and told it was mandatory, but after consulting with a lawyer, the district dropped the investigation. The tech department lied 3 times on a 10-minute phone call. Last month, I wanted to go public with this information in the name of transparency, and also because sadly at a young age I've learned that nothing gets done behind closed doors when we are not transparent about it. I was right. Meetings were scheduled prior to me going public with this information as a substitute of speaking publicly about this issue. But once I did regardless, not one email was sent about meeting and fixing the issue. The most support I've received from an elected official or anyone in this district who has the authority to help fix the problem is from Trustee Finitry, who commented, "Well said," when I publicly explained the situation. So Trustee Finitry, thank you. The parents agree with me, the students agree with me, and even teachers I didn't know reached out emailing me, agreeing with me. So if everyone agrees with me, who's against us? Vice President Munoz, over the weekend, you posted a political TikTok on your Instagram story. I follow you. Great page, by the way. I didn't agree with it, but that's fine. And as someone who clearly shares a political passion, I know you know and agree that our students should be able to express their opinions freely and safely. This is not a political or controversial issue, and I'm not sure why it has taken us 3 months and we still accomplished nothing but lying about the law and lying about investigations that never took place. So let's have our meeting right now, because a great education system is made up of both board plus parents plus students versus the problem, and not board versus student or board versus parent. So yes or no, can we collectively show New Jersey what it means to be Bayonne strong, a hashtag our mayor champions all the time, by insisting that political affiliation becomes a protected right in New Jersey's law, the same way religion, race, gender, and identity is protected? Yes or no, can we hold people accountable for their actions? There's no reason why a teacher should be able to tell her classroom, "I'm so glad a white girl is finally getting hate for her political views," with no accountability whatsoever. There's no reason why that same teacher can tell my classmate, Jessica, "You're a domestic terrorist," with no accountability, and Jessica will expand on that. Yes or no, can we create political affiliation sensitivity trainings that teaches our staff and teachers to do better in a work and learning environment? Again, we have some great teachers, but we also have teachers who have no right saying what they are saying in class. If other sensitivity trainings work just fine, I have no doubt that this one will fall short of doing just that. I want to be able to report back great information soon. So yes or no, can we meet and start these steps? And if yes, when?
Thank you.
Are we going to meet about it?
I already emailed you about a meeting, twice.
Thank you. But it didn't
I
happen.
asked you to meet with me so we could discuss.
And it
what
didn't
you wanted
happen.
to discuss. Never did I get the reply back if we were meeting.
President Vallado, that's not true. I doubt you were hearing me right now, but thank you so much.
Did I not send you an email to, did Mr. Superintendent not send you an email for a meeting?
Before I went public with the information.
But the meeting was still open, and there was another email for another
That was before I went public with the information. After I went public, no email was sent.
That meeting was never, you never came. You could have emailed.
President Vallado, you canceled. I have it in writing.
What was that? I didn't cancel.
Well, you were a superintendent, said you could not make it that day. You were going to reschedule. You reached out. I asked to be transparent about it.
Right,
Nobody replied.
We asked
No
you
one
to
showed up.
reschedule.
What's that? I'm sorry?
She did ask you, Superintendent, we did ask for a reschedule, correct?
I don't know why we're going back and forth about a subject that should just be very clear. Are you on the same side? Students should be able to express their political opinions, right? Great.
Yes.
So if we all agree, why are we wasting time? Why can't we just get to it?
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Next.
Jessica Longobardi.
Hello and good evening. My name is Jessica Longobardi. I'm a junior in Bayonne High School, and I'm going to be really honest, I'm extremely nervous right now, and I was terrified to come up here today. Petra has been asking me to speak up for months now, but like so many other students, I was scared of the repercussions after seeing the reaction Petra has received for doing the right thing. Petra has spoken about my story multiple times, and for those of you who are unaware, I had a teacher who felt it was necessary to make an example of me in front of the entire class. She told me, "I don't know what to think of you," after seeing me a couple doors down attending a Bayonne High School club. She called me, along with the founder of the club, domestic terrorist and part of a domestic terrorist organization or hate group, again, in front of my class. I felt terrified from that second forward. I had no clue if my future grades would be in jeopardy, but more importantly, if my safety was compromised too. I felt like a singled out minority and discriminated against sitting in the classroom as my teacher and classmates spoke negatively on my beliefs. I was extremely disliked, and a student even threatened to hit me with a textbook. Unfortunately, we all know Bayonne High School has sort of a fighting issue. I walked home every day, and after school, rarely did I not see a fight happening in the corner. Had we not went remote shortly after, I could have been a victim on the corner, all because of my political opinions. I'm extremely proud and happy to hear Petra standing up for how me and many other students feel. Petra was right when she said and told me it's time to stand up for how we feel, because we've been quiet for way too long. I don't think it's necessary for any teacher who isn't teaching a political class, and even if you are teaching a political class, to call a student, I was 15 at the time, a domestic terrorist in front of our entire class. Simply because what? I prefer like capitalism over socialism? So my question to you guys is, are you prepared to do something for students who feel like I do?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When this occurred, did you notify the principal or vice principal or even your club facilitator that this occurred to you?
Well, here's the thing. If nobody would believe Petra when she spoke out...
No. I'm not speaking about... Petra didn't speak to me.
Well, I'm trying to explain.
Excuse me. She didn't speak to me. I'm asking you, when
I'm trying to explain. You just didn't let me... I'm trying to explain. You're not letting me. I'm trying to say that I felt scared. That's what this whole thing is about. So I felt terrified because when Petra came out, if you were paying attention, she got death threats. Our Instagrams, including even mine, were filled. And when I say filled, I have screenshots of students threatening us. I had someone make a Snapchat account and then start threatening me on there and calling me things. So no, I didn't feel safe coming out and making it a bigger even problem. Because like I said, I could have been a student in the corner.
Excuse me, Petra, speak. It's her turn to speak. Thank you so much.
Can I ask a question?
I just wanted to know if you reported the fear you had and the threat of this. There's teachers, there's your facilitator of the club that you have that should have known that this was happening to you because you were part of that club. And then he could have taken steps to protect you.
Okay, so then why weren't steps taken when I did come out?
Excuse me, it's all I was asking, if you told your facilitator that these things were occurring to you.
I have a question.
That's all I was asking, because there's protocol, like, you're bringing it to the board for us to take action, but there's like steps, like I just wanted to know if you informed someone when this occurred.
May I respond to that?
Occurred to you. Yes.
So if that's the case, I don't feel like protocol is really followed, because if that was the case, then when Petra came out originally about her death threats, something would have happened. So how could I feel as a student safe to come out to teachers who I'm supposed to trust, when first of all, it's teachers like that who are causing the problem, and when the board isn't even doing anything about previous students?
I just asked you if you reported. Thank you so much. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, and I was just explaining that.
Thanks. Somebody else said they had a question?
Trustees, if they'll please go through the chair.
Go through chair.
I'm sorry, President, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I'm curious as to what club this is that...
It has nothing to do with the club. It's about...
Oh, no, I'm just curious as to what club you belong to that people are threatening your life. Like, I'm just curious as to what that is.
Do you think this is acceptable? I did. I got in touch with all of you for 3 months. 3 months.
Was your question answered?
No.
Our question
No?
not answered yet.
Okay.
She just wants to know what club.
What club was that you belong to?
What club?
That Trustee Casais is asking?
We can do that privately if you want to do an investigation privately about it.
She just asked the question.
I'm not
Of the
trying
club that
to...
it
Just
was.
say.
You don't want to answer, it's
The
fine.
club is Turning Point USA.
Okay.
Okay,
That's the club.
So it's no...
all right, I just have one question. When did you said that your Instagram was filled with attacks or hate mail, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, when was this?
We're asking,
This was-
she's speaking, Petra. They made the statement that
Go ahead,
her
Jessica.
Instagram was full.
Go ahead.
That's what we're asking her.
I'm sorry, I just want to know.
It's okay.
Just want to know.
I just want to know. So it is March 2021, okay?
Yeah.
When were these messages sent? And I ask because we've been out of school since March of 2020. And this is the first time that we're hearing about this. Okay, so on advice of legal, I can't speak anymore.
Wait, so do I answer your question or no?
No, you can't.
Okay.
But Jessica, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Susan.
And Petra, I apologize. Thank you.
Susan Barons, 15 East 43rd Street.
Hi, thank you very much. I'd like to thank you for having me here and for working so hard to put us back into school and for a return date for in-person school. My daughter was very excited. She has been looking forward to going back to school for a really long time. I would also like to take this opportunity to say thank you to the teachers, because I think they're also working very hard for our children. They're basically running tech support, they're doing teaching curriculum, they're supporting the kids, all from behind a tiny screen. And unfortunately, a lot of the tools that they use as teachers, they weren't able to use because they are behind that screen. So they have definitely been doing their best and working very hard. So I have a couple of questions. The first one is in regards to the survey. I'd like to know if say only half the people fill it out, are you going to be contacting the people that haven't filled it out?
John, the superintendent just left.
John just left.
Oh. Do you want to
help you.
wait
I can
till
help.
back and come back up?
Hold on, Mr.
Yeah,
Castle.
I can help.
Answer that.
Yeah.
Mr. Castle?
So once we get the results of the survey, we're going to see what they are first before we go and say we're going to contact everybody, because somebody might respond, no, they're not coming back, but then hear things and change their mind. It's kind of fluid. We're trying to get a feel for what the percentage is. Once we get a tighter number, then we will contact people regarding virtual versus in-person and what they really are. But yes, but not immediately after the survey.
Okay. Also, I know that you're working to vaccinate the teachers, and you've talked about the air filters that still have to go in. Is there anything else that has to be done before that May 3rd date to return the kids to school?
So you nailed all three of those things. The purifiers were already ordered, so they should be in either next week or the following week. There's also dividers going on classroom desks, which should be arriving either this week or next week. The holdup with those two is actually the installation of all of those in every desk in every room district-wide. We anticipate that 99% of it will be done by April 15th, but the vaccinations will back up right to that date, so that's where the May 3rd date came.
Okay. One last question I had. I heard from a parent that, it's not me, it's just somebody that came to me, that asked about her child's locker that had not been cleaned out. She said she hadn't gotten the kids' lockers things. So I guess this is kind of, as the nurse was speaking about, have all the buildings been completely cleaned, or is that something that's ongoing?
So the buildings have been cleaned. There are some student property that we have retained instead of, if they hadn't come and pick it up or didn't have the chance to, or some schools held that thinking that they'd come back, but they have been cleansed around them. So a lot of those, like for instance, the desks that have the area underneath it, they've been taped off and closed in and then cleansed around them. So that's the process so far.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Next up is
Wait,
Mr.
Dan? Excuse me. Dan, so just to follow on that, the nurse that right now was asking about when things would be installed. You're saying by April 15th, everything should be in?
Yes, depending on when things arrive, my estimated time is April 15th. Yes.
I got you. I mean, obviously...
Right after spring break.
Next up is Mr. Anthony D'Amico, 73 West 6th.
Anthony D'Amico, 73 West 6th Street. I was just wondering more specific policies and stuff. Do we have specifics on if all staff will be required to provide a negative test before we return back to school in sessions?
No. Dan?
Do we currently have a policy for that? No, we don't have a policy for that. What we're looking to do is have all staff vaccinated that is going to return, and obviously the ventilation thing, but there's no board policy stating that everyone has to have a negative test.
Okay, because we all hear the stories, obviously people have caught in COVID after their vaccination, because I believe it's roughly 6 weeks after your second shot that you're technically vaccinated or immune, quote unquote. That puts us roughly after May 3rd. So it might be smart to do what every other corporation and business is doing, where you're returning to work, you provide a negative COVID test. That's something obviously in my industry we have to do. The other thing is, with these students, and I know the nurse touched on it, where you get sent to school because the parents just, Tylenol and go. If they do that, are we going to have a plan in place that if somebody does that, they're not allowed back in school session to protect the other students in the area, as well as the other parents that are doing the right thing, not sending their kids, and the same with staff as well. We've all shown up to work a little under the weather, but not bad. Are we going to have anything in place that if that does happen, they are not allowed back in the building at that time? I mean, hybrid, we're talking about 12 days with kids for the rest of the year. So, I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world if they are not in there for the 11 days if their parents decided to give them Tylenol and the nurse catches them with a fever. You know, we got to protect everybody, not just carte blanche. So I was wondering if you guys are going to do any plans for those type of situations that happen.
Yes, preventative plans are being put in place and also contact tracing, but those are the tricky ones where someone comes with a cough, not necessarily COVID, and how do you respond to that? So we're going to rely on some of our medical professionals to, see what the best options are, but those plans are being put in place, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Melissa Gotsky Rodriguez, 178 Avenue F.
Melissa Godesky Rodriguez, 178 Avenue F. So I have two parts. The first is a little bit about the survey. So last time we had 2,407 responses. This time, clearly, we're definitely getting better response. How will we ensure enough parents take the survey? And if we don't get all surveys back, what's that plan going to look like to ensure we do?
So I can only speak about the part I'm knowledgeable about. It's going to be hard to force parents to take a survey. So what we're trying to use this survey as is an estimation. So if it's 50-50, then we have an idea of what that's going to look like, and then we could start reaching out and seeing who's coming back and who's not. But as far as finalizing exact data, it's not going to be a perfect science, at least in my opinion. You're going to get an estimation of the feel for the community, and I think that's the point of the survey.
Will we assume that parents who don't complete the survey automatically stay on remote learning?
I don't know what that's going to look like right now, to be honest. But like I said, I think we're going to use it as an estimation.
Thank you. The second part is a little bit about the special education piece. Without going too much into my story, starting off with, it was rectified, it was taken care of, my caseworker, special services did their job. So I'm very thankful for that. Recently, an extreme decision was almost made on my son's educational status here in the Bayonne School District. Luckily enough, I feel I'm well-versed and educated on my rights and law as it pertains to his education here, and it was corrected. I want to know what the district's plan is, and this doesn't really just apply to special education children or with IEPs. I think this applies to our children who may have unique circumstances at home or have been negatively impacted by the pandemic, to ensure that we're not making extreme decisions on their educational placement here in the district. So I just want to know what the plan is to prevent that from happening to our students.
So obviously I'm not an expert in special ed. You probably know much more than I do. But if you would like, please send me that in an email. I'll talk to our Assistant Superintendent of Special Education, our team, and get you an answer that's exactly what you're looking for. I apologize I can't do it in the public forum, just not versed in it, but I'll gladly get you an answer.
I appreciate that. And then the second part is you talked about a robust educational service being offered through the summer, which could be perceived as ESY. Will services such as PT, OT, and speech be offered to ESY students even though they don't have the academic need?
I can speak to that. Obviously, ESY is mandated by law. However, the district has reached out and is applied for a HUD grant that supplies extra services, both special ed and regular ed, for summer and potentially before and after school. We're going to have to see what before school looks like. It'll most likely be after school. Once that's fully awarded, that would roll out July 1st, and that would provide for both special and regular ed kids. There's also part of these ESSER funds that tie into extra help for students.
I'm close on my time, but the second part to that is children who have already completed their IEP who don't qualify for ESY now, will those IEPs be allowed to be amended and those parents opt in for the ESY special services as far as PT, OT, and speech?
Again, I can get back to you on that. I'm not versed in that, but I can certainly get back to you.
Thank you very much.
Our final speaker for the evening, I have no other cards, is Mr. Gene Woods. I'm sorry?
Wait.
Did you fill out a card?
I did. It says open.
Oh, I'm sorry, right, Lynn?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Jean, give me 1 sec. We're going to bring up for the open Lynn Pulaski, 128 West 26th Street. Sorry about that.
That's okay, thank you. Okay, so I asked my initial question before, why are the Board of Ed meetings not on Zoom?
Mr. Fagu, someone from technology explained to us why the possibility of having these on Zoom. We talked about it. I remember we talked about it, and there's a technical issue.
There was an issue with going live on Facebook at the time. We are a Google district, obviously, with Chrome. So being a Google district, using Google Meets is something user-friendly that our board is used to. But Zoom is something we could look into as a platform as well.
It could be Google Meets, it could be anything, but I have actually questions from parents at home who are texting me because they can't ask. Okay, so my next question is, what is the benefit of half-day instruction versus full-day instruction if we have all of the protocols in place to keep the children and the staff and teachers safe?
Well, I think one of the benefits, one of the reasons why we're looking for that for May and June is the lunch program. So having kids without masks in an open space, in condensed areas, is one of the problems we're looking at. Even with the air purifiers that we're getting for those larger open spaces, that could be problematic. So while this is just for May and June, that's one of the reasons that we're looking at the condensed schedule.
It's my understanding a lot of districts allow the students to eat at their desks. They have the dividers around them, and they're masked when they're not, up until the point that they're eating. So how is that different here?
Well, that's true, but that's a lot of much smaller districts. We're one of the larger districts that is trying to open up in this atmosphere. So we don't have the luxury of newer buildings, more space. A lot of our classrooms are very condensed. So that's the issue that we're trying to overcome. I think we will overcome it, but in the short term, to get kids back in school, I think that this is one of the better options.
Thank you. Dr. Neese mentioned that some of the benchmarks to get to full-day instruction, all in-person instruction, are either governor order or no COVID-19 outbreaks. Now, we know that COVID-19 is not going anywhere, so is the only way for you to allow all of our students in person through governor order only?
I'm not going to speak for Mr. Neese, but you can surely direct that question,
Okay. Thank you. And 2 questions from parents at home. One parent wants to know if children with IEPs will be able to go 5 days a week.
They'll have to get back to you on that as soon as we ask our assistant superintendent of special ed what is the protocol that she believes is most beneficial at this moment.
Thank you. And the second question from another parent at home. It sounds like what we heard was that 50% of the students so far are wanting to stay home. The parents want them to stay home. So if that's the case and we only have half of the school district, is there a chance that we will be in 5 days a week?
Well, parents still have till the end of this week, correct?
Right, hypothetically.
Till the end of this week, so we still can't.
So you can't tell me if there's half of the school district wanting to stay home if 5 days a week is an option?
Well, you'd have to wait for Superintendent Neese because that would be his decision. He's the superintendent of school.
What I can tell you is that all things are on the table until we get the survey.
Until we get the numbers.
Is 5 days a week an option? Sure.
Thank you for that answer. It's a shame Dr. Neese is not here. We only have these meetings once a month. Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Gene Woods, BEA President.
Go ahead.
Mr. Woods, please. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start off with this. I know since this all started, last year in March, educators were the heroes for about a month. And then it quickly turned sour. And the sad thing is that our educators care deeply about our students. Some of those students, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, some of those students have basically become adopted children to us. There have been countless times across the district in which there have been teachers who have paid for proms, paid for clothes, paid for food to take care of children in their classrooms. And the bonds that they have forged over the years continued after those students left the school districts. I speak for myself in this, for not only coaching for 5 years, but then educating several of those students who I coached, who now I know as adults, who are also educators, not only in the Bayonne School District, but also in other districts across New Jersey. Now, our educators care, again, deeply about our students. And in spite of COVID, if you look at the achievements that our educators have earned this year, in spite of COVID, they are numerous. In addition, if you look across the district, and this is a definite applause to the students who are at home on the computers, but again, it's also an applause to their teachers, they have also achieved many different awards, going from the history department into the Latin department and several others. Educators spend hours, endless hours dedicated to the classroom. When COVID hit, the hours ramped up and they still did their jobs. We still did our jobs. Weekends, summers, the stuff continues. There are so many teachers, and again, including myself, including my wife, including our exec board, our ARs, we have constant conversations about how much time we spend every day doing our job to make sure our students are educated the best that we possibly can do. We're very thankful that we have access to the vaccinations, right? And have always wanted to return to our buildings to continue the career that we chose because we love it. We want to continue to dedicate ourselves to our career. We want to continue to dedicate ourselves to our students. We want to continue to dedicate ourselves to this institution here. But as I said before, we have to make sure it is safe for all students and all staff. I think sometimes when I have to come up here and speak, people see it as if either I'm speaking on my own behalf, and sometimes I've had to, but I separate that. Right? And I say I speak as a parent, as a teacher, and then as Bayonne Education Association president. But I have to represent over 900 plus members. And I haven't asked one of them to come to a single board meeting since last March because I care about their safety and well-being. So when I'm up here speaking, I am speaking on behalf of them, and it's not of selfish interest. It is about the protection of our students, because when we fight as a union for things that need to be changed, and this is past, present, and when I'm out of here, whenever it is, into the future, the union will always fight for our students. And again, I think sometimes people may not necessarily see that, just the way sometimes things play out in the media or, just by words. But we fight for the safety and care of all of our students. That's how it is. That's what we do. And again, it is at the top of our discussions all the time. It is about students. It is about quality. It is about education. So like I said before, our educators are in this. We are deeply invested in our students, and we want to make sure that everything is safe for everybody when we return. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion. So moved.
Motion by Vice President Munoz. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by President Bellato. On that motion and second, Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Cassius.
Yes.
Trustee Egan.
Yes.
Trustee Finnerty. Trustee Sclafani. Trustee Watson.
Yes.
Trustee Wilbeck. Vice President Munoz.
Yes.
President Bellato.
Yes.
It is 7:42. The meeting's adjourned.